Hi, Deep Real Talk family. So today I decided that I'm going to talk about the relationship, mothers and daughters in law. It's a weird topic to actually talk about when you're thinking about love, when you're going to meet someone, because you don't necessarily think about your mother in law. The guy doesn't say, "Oh, my mother's like this." You don't say, "Oh, my mom's like this." Or if you have a mom, or whatever the setup is, you don't necessarily, immediately right off the bat, gravitate towards that topic. But it is something that we overlook a lot of the time until we say I do, or we are going to say I do, or you think about, someone's gonna pay lobola for you. You don't think about it until that moment that, oh my gosh, I've got in-laws, but I just want to lay the background between a daughter-in-law and the mother-in-law. It's a relationship that for decades, years, if not centuries, has been a very tumultuous, very questionable relationship. These are two women who are thought to be fighting for the affection of one man. And it's not a polygamous relationship, no duh, but you've got a mother who feels that this is her son, a man whom she has brought up, a man whom she has groomed, a man who has no faults in her eyes. And you have a woman who's saying, I want to make this man my husband, my partner. This is going to be the father of my children. And I want to be first in his life, right after God. So she's saying, I want to be second after God. So it's God, then me, then the children, then everything else. And then you've got the mother-in-law who is vying for that same position to say, but I deserve it because I have kept him. And yet I question this. I question, these two women in the lives of one man. I question that, can they not get along? Is it really impossible for mothers and daughters-in-law to get along? And I wish to submit to you that it is not impossible, because again, we were looking at the story of Ruth. We see that her mother-in-law was literally begging her to say, Ruth, go. I don't have any more sons. Go find yourself a new husband, start a new life. Forget about me. This was a mother-in-law who was very selfless when it came to the relationship or to the life of her daughter-in-law. She was selfless and she loved her. And then reciprocating that, you have the daughter-in-law who says to her, please do not force me to leave you. I'm now translating it into modern day language. Do not, because I want to follow you. Wherever you go, I will go. Wherever you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people. Your God will be my God. Where you die, I will die, and there I will be buried. The Lord do so to me, and more also, if anything but death parts you and me. I mean, this type of a relationship between Ruth and her mother-in-law, Naomi, speaks to the intense depth of connection that these two women had in their household and even between them. It gives you the impression that it was not the son that was the one who glued them or who brought them together, but it was indeed Naomi and Ruth who purposed that between the two of us, we are going to have a relationship. You are going to be my daughter, I am going to be your mother. And even if we are separated, independent of my son and your husband, we have a relationship. And I think that is where a lot of mothers-in-law and daughters-in-law miss it, where we do not seek to have a relationship independent of the man in the picture. So because we focus on whose affection we are fighting for, we end up being rivals instead of seeking to have a relationship together. I was thinking about it to say there is no son-in-law who says, I am fighting to have a relationship with my father-in-law. But as a daughter-in-law, you dream of being the perfect daughter-in-law to your mother. irrespective of how she is, you dream of it. So I'm going to pause here and say, what sort of relationship then as a daughter-in-law do you expect to have with your mother-in-law? And I'm going to put it out there to you to say there's only 3 types of relationships you can expect to have with your mother-in-law. Is that number 1, the first and most ideal is that you are perfect. Just like how Naomi and Ruth are. You are perfectly locked in and in sync with each other. Then the second relationship is that you both hate one another, which is completely the opposite. You hate one another. You can't stand each other. You can't wait for you to be gone, for the other person to be gone. You're just like, no, I don't like her, I don't want her. We tolerate each other because we share one man, in that he's my husband, he's your son, we share. So I tolerate you. I tolerate you because you are going to be the grandmother to my children, or you are the mother to my grandchildren. We tolerate each other, okay? Then the third type of relationship is where the one loves the one, the other one doesn't. And vice versa. Whether it's the mother-in-law who loves the daughter and the daughter doesn't like her, or the daughter-in-law loves her mother-in-law, but the mother-in-law is just like indifferent and like, okay, whether you're breathing, existing or not, it makes no difference in my life. So there are those 3 types of relationships, okay? So now that I've outlined that, I want to say that, as I said in the beginning, you get married to this man. So your primary goal in this relationship with your husband or with this other person, the primary goal that you are there is to have this relationship with your husband. Then the auxiliary is this relationship with the family. But as a daughter-in-law, for some reason, you are expected, and I say this with all respect to my in-laws or any other in-laws I'll ever have in my life, you are expected to mold and to literally become one with this family. As to whether sons ever become one with your family as a daughter, as with your family, that's something that is not even expected. Like if he's happy, your family's happy as a daughter. You're like, okay, but you as a daughter are expected to graft yourself into this family. So if I'm a Siyobi, I am expected to graft myself into the Sibego family, for example, or the Dlamini family, or the Tau family. I'm expected to graft myself. I'm now the daughter of this house. And as being the daughter of this house, I am expected to get along with this woman. But I question this because I'm like, what's my primary goal in this relationship is to be with my husband. The family is the auxiliary. And so then I started asking myself, then my relationship with my mother-in-law is almost like this. It's almost like this. I get a job. And please do not get me wrong. I'm saying this with all respect. I get a job and I start working. And my job is to report to my boss. So, and within that, there are other relationships around my boss that I have to sort of navigate through, but they may or may not be critical. You know what I'm saying? They're not critical. So, this actually released me from a lot of pressure from myself to be this exemplary or to get along with my mother-in-law or my future mother-in-law. It released me from this pressure. Because then I thought to myself, just like how I am expected to get along with my boss, I'm expected to get along with my husband. My mother-in-law is an auxiliary relationship that I just need to know how to navigate. And because I don't get to choose my mother-in-law, just like how I don't get to choose my relationship with my auxiliary staff, then I don't have to push myself to get along with her if she doesn't want me. I don't have to force myself to do this. You know, this analogy has set me free. I have chosen my husband, so I have to get along with him. I have to build a life with him. That is a must. But my mother-in-law, As a daughter-in-law, that's not a must. That thinking has set me free. I don't know if it is wrong, but it has set me free. Because what does this mean? It means that when I come into the relationship, when I come into my family, my in-law family, I come with the intent to love my mother-in-law. I come with the heart, I'm going to love her. I want to build a relationship with her. I want to get to know her. I want to get to understand her. I want to take care of her into her old age. This is my heart. And if she reciprocates it, then I am set free. If she reciprocates it, then I am thankful to God and I'm like, glory to you, Lord God Almighty. But if she does not tolerate me, she hates me, then all I need to do is to be civil and love her as Christ says, love your neighbor as unto yourself. But it is not my job to get her to accept me. That's it. I'm not going to labor. I'm not going to bend myself over. I'm not going to go out of my way to bend backwards to get her approval. Because Christ loves me. My husband loves me. People around me love me. So I do not need to prove anything to her if she doesn't want me. But I will love her. I will respect her as the mother of my husband. I will love her. I will respect her as the grandmother of my children. But I am not going to put pressure on myself as to I must now push forward for her to love me back. No. And you know that thinking, it actually liberates. It liberates a person. Because as daughters-in-law, we get sometimes mistreated by our in-laws, sometimes. Sometimes we are loved by them. We have no cooking clue. How are we going to be received by them? All we can do is pray and say, oh Jesus, as I graft myself into this family, may they just accept me and love me. But if they don't, then Lord, what I do for myself is to set myself free from trying to impress people who don't even like me, who don't change the sun or the stars in my life. They don't, but I will love them because they're important to my husband. That's just how it is. That is just how it is, because culture has put such pressure. Culture, especially the African culture, has put so much pressure on us as African daughters-in-law to be this perfect daughter-in-law. And yet it is impossible because we are not perfect. We are not perfect. But all we can be is who we are. When I get married into a family, for example, who's Tsonga, if I do not know Tsonga, if I do not understand Tsonga, I will try my best to learn the language and all of that. But if I don't. All I can do is speak English. And if that's where we understand each other, that's fine. If I can speak Sotho and they understand me, that's fine. You know, you can't be anything else but who you are. That's who you are. And you should not be made to feel less than that because you do not fit into a certain stereotype in a family. You're not the perfect daughter-in-law who knows how to cook with the 3 food, who knows how to wake up at 4 a.m. to make coffee, who knows how to, I don't know, all these things. And you know, I just want to digress here and to say to mothers-in-law, if your daughter-in-law doesn't love you, as a mother, you give love. Because you see, the relationship is this: the mother-in-law is older, the daughter-in-law is here. So as a child, you tend to have this thing of wanting to, impress the mother. But as a mother-in-law, what you can do is to reach out to her in love. You know, you go there without judgment. You show her love. If you want to teach her your son's favorite dish, you can do that. If she doesn't accept it, so be it. But Luana, don't feel under pressure to impress someone who doesn't want you. There's so much freedom in not putting pressure because culture dictates it. There's so much freedom in that, you know? And I also want to say, because I need to close up now, after this topic, in this topic, is that Ideally, we as mothers, not we as mother, I'm not a mother-in-law, but as mothers-in-law and as daughters-in-law, we are meant to work together to build, and to what's the word? Take the family forward, to build a legacy. That's what we are meant to do. If you look at Naomi said, "My child, shall I not provide a home for you? Shall I not make a way for you to have that family?" So we're supposed to build each other. The mother-in-law is supposed to teach the daughter-in-law that in my family, this is how I used to do things. This is how my son likes things. This is how I've taught him to think. When he does this, he's doing it because of 1, 2, 3. The quickest way of getting to understand living with your husband is to have your mother-in-law tell you those certain things. So if your sisters-in-law teach you those certain things, that is the quickest way. But if you do not have that, don't feel discouraged. You will learn along the way like everyone else does. And also, as a daughter-in-law, you have to be willing to learn from your mother-in-law. Learn to listen to her advices. It's so beautiful when people have channels towards each other, open channels, when the mother-in-law and the daughter-in-law can talk. Build a relationship independent of the man in the picture. And you guys have that relationship where you can go out for a spa day and get to know each other. You get to know each other's dislikes and likes. You learn, my mother-in-law may not necessarily be those people who likes body massages, but she's the type of person who would appreciate it if you come home every so often and just sit and talk to her. Or she appreciates it if you come and, you say, even if you don't like, cleaning curtains. But you say, "You know what, Mama, I can take these curtains to the dry cleaner and get them to wash them, and I'll bring them back and hang them." There are those, and she feels loved because she's a person of acts of service, Or maybe she's that woman who enjoys one phone call every 2 weeks. Phone her, "How are you, Mama? All right. Yeah, no, I was just finding out. And malume, malume, kochaye," even if you can't remember half their names, those uncles, you just call. Send her pictures of the grandkids. This is what, Spume did today. Spums did this today. This is what she did. This is how she looked like on the first day of school. Small things, include her. Because I think majority of mothers-in-law are afraid of being outed and forgotten by their sons. That's what they're afraid of. In all honesty, as to why they would fight, there's no reason. They're just afraid that once their son is out the door, that daughter-in-law is going to steal her son from her and she's never going to see him again. So then she makes your life a living so that you can be tortured. So don't oust your your mother-in-law. Love her, appreciate her, and make her feel included in those important moments of your lives. I'm talking about grandkids and so forth. Make her feel included. So I think that's what I would want to say. That let us as daughters-in-law with our mothers-in-law and vice versa, let us love each other. There's no need to feel like, we are at competition. As a mother, your child, your son can never love you like he will love his wife. But you also have to expect or accept the fact that she is going to be number 1 in his life. And you are going to be number 2. And that is okay. Mothers-in-law need to accept that. When she comes into the picture, you need to step aside and let her become the queen in his life. And that is okay. Your role is going to be different. Your role is supportive. Your role is to be loving. Your role is to help to build this family. Your role is to help to pray for this family, protect this family. And you're the one who says to the rest of the relatives, "No, you are not going to make my daughter-in-law miserable. I never limukoti say and make her miserable. I refuse. I'm standing and protecting her because I'm protecting the woman that my son has chosen. I'm protecting the family that my son is building. I'm not going to be an obstacle to this family. I am going to be the greatest supporter of this family. That is my new role in my son's life." And and his family succeeding, it means everything that I have built in his life, from the time he was a baby to being a teenager to being a grown man, everything that I've invested is finally going to bear fruit in this family. The legacy I've invested in this man, I am protecting it by helping this woman. Imagine if every mother-in-law thought like that and didn't see her as her competition, didn't judge her to say, my son deserves better. No, she is not your choice. She is his choice. And you love her because he loves her. It's important to him. And this will help all men to be so much better. You know what? If you're a man and you're listening to this and you are in the middle of a storm between your wife and your mother, this is one video you must give them, that they must just love each other. Because I can only imagine how it is to be torn between two women. Literally. When she says this, you don't know what to do. When she says that, you are like gobsmacked and you're just like, oh, Nkosi yami. And so what you do is you keep them in two separate provinces and hope to God that nothing ever brings them together. That it shouldn't be that way. It should not be that way. So anyways, with that, I want to say, mothers-in-law, daughters-in-law, let us love each other. Let us be like Ruth and Naomi. Let us help each other build legacies, because it's generations we are building. And so let us not be foolish and tear down our families with our own hands. Let us have each other's hands and hold each other to build our families. So with that, I want to say thank you so much, Deep Real family, for joining me. And I pray that, you know what, with each and every one of these videos, our lives become better. As I'm learning, I'm sharing. And so may you share with others so that we can build healthy homes, healthy, prosperous, blessed homes. God bless you all.